Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm the High Pop Professor. And today I wanted to get on video here and address something that's been bouncing around in my mind for the last couple days. One of the things I love about this hobby is the fact that we can learn from each other, we can have discussions, debates. We don't always have to agree with each other on things. There's plenty of different ways to collect. There's no right or wrong way of collecting. It's really kind of what you make of it and collecting what you love and, sharing that joy and that passion with other like-minded collectors. And so what brings me to this today is because I had a video a little while ago where I made talking about the difference in value between PSA 9 versus Mint 9 graded cards in other holders like Beckett, SGC, and maybe even others. And one of the example cards I threw out there to illustrate this vast sort of gulf in value that exists between, for example, a Beckett 9 Mint graded Derek Jeter rookie card from 93 SP and a PSA 9 Mint card, same exact card, 93 SP Derek Jeter rookie. And, one of the comments, and this was a comment that even though the video is now a couple months old, this is a comment that just came in about 2 days ago where, and again, I know I call myself the High Pop Professor. The fact is I don't actually have an advanced degree in 90s baseball cardboard. I know, big shocker, right? But there are things I'm learning, every day about this hobby, even still. I do know a few things about it, but I'm not an expert in all things. I don't know. There's lots of things I don't know. And look, like I said before, we can have different opinions on things. And I may differ with you on certain issues, but what I'd like to try to do is keep an open mind. And I'm not above changing my opinion. We've all changed our opinions over the years on various things, various topics. And this particular comment really struck a chord with me because it wasn't just that someone maybe had a different opinion than I did. It was that the way they expressed that opinion was amazing. And what made it amazing to me was that they didn't just use anecdotal evidence, they used numbers. They showed their work, so to speak. And as a math teacher, I really appreciate someone showing their work because it allows me to follow not just what the logical conclusion is, but the evidence that supports that logical conclusion. And that's what I wanted to address today. So the big elephant in the room here is pop control. PSA pop control. Does PSA, do they gatekeep? Do they prevent certain cards from achieving that coveted 10 status and to keep the numbers low and keep the values of those cards high, right? And this is where I would put the tinfoil hat on, and I'm not much in the way for a conspiracy theorist. And that's sort of where in my mind, I sort of categorize the idea of pop control. And I'm not gonna say that I dismissed it 100%, but I threw it out to the side and sort of, in my mind, put it out there as like, yeah, I don't think they do that. And really, it doesn't make sense for PSA to have a different standard that they would hold certain particular cards to. I mean, they are a respected company. They have a lot of respect and clout in the hobby. And it wouldn't make sense logically for me, thinking about this, that they would jeopardize that by changing the standards all of a sudden and gatekeeping their PSA 10 grade for certain cards. Now, if people are looking at the fact that, there haven't been a whole lot of PSA 10s graded lately, for me, I would tend to chalk that up towards, look, they're using new technology now and grading that they did, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and earlier in late 90s, where they weren't able to use a tool-assisted grading where they're now able to very precisely and exactly measure the centering. They can analyze the surface on a very fine, detailed level and catch flaws that otherwise were undiscernible to the naked eye. And I think, yeah, you're using that kind of technology. The grading standard, even though they say it hasn't changed, well, they're finding new things in cards they weren't able to detect before. So yeah, it's gotten harsher. Fine, I don't have any problem with that. And so that's sort of where I had, in my mind, been going with this. And up until about 2 or 3 days ago, I sort of thought that anything involving pop control was, a conspiracy theory. It's a fun little thing you can toy with. And yeah, look, you can point to the ridiculous value of the PSA 10 Derek Jeter SP rookie and say, look, these cards are selling, it's a $500,000 card. It's a $500,000 card. There's only 22 of them out there. And so, and in some, conspiracy, again, putting on the foil hat, it's like, okay, if you are invested in, if you know who these entities are that own these 22 copies or whatever, and they're pulling some strings behind the scenes to make sure that there aren't a brand new flood of these coming in to lower the value. Okay, that's interesting. You can see there might be a financial or monetary incentive, but honestly, with as much money in business as PSA has been doing, I'm not sure that a singular or even a handful of $500,000 cards are really gonna. Well, anyway, that was my thought process. And then, so let's look at this comment that I received. And basically what the gist of this comment is saying, they disagreed with me, but they were respectful, they were cordial in it, and it was enlightening. They taught me they said, hey, take a look at basically the population of some of the other cards in that same exact set. So the 93 SP set, most of them, the base cards, have a very elegant sort of semi-borderless design. But the Jeter itself is part of a sort of a rookie or prospect subset, and it's complete silver foil board. And the 90s were innovative in a lot of different ways, and printing on this foil board technology, well, it was brand new, and these were like some of the most highly condition sensitive cards that have ever been produced, which is why the gem rates are so astonishingly low. And so we can't just compare the Jeter to any old card in this set. We can't compare it to a Griffey or a Greg Maddux or a Barry Bonds. We have to compare, if we're going to compare numbers on this specific card to any other card, we have to compare foil subset to foil subset. And so what I'd like to do, and is I'm gonna dive down the rabbit hole a little bit here today in this video. We're gonna look at some of the other cards that were of the same foil subset, and also of stars that had a reasonable number of cards that were also graded. And we'll compare those gem rates. So namely, we're gonna look at Carlos Delgado, Johnny Damon, and Chipper Jones. And so we have 3 star players that also included in this set as the foil subset. And let's take a look at what those gem rates look like. So starting off, Carlos Delgado has had 4 gem mint 10s out of a total of 413 cards graded by PSA for a gem rate of just shy of 1%. So we're talking 0.969% gem rate. So pretty low gem rate. 99 out of 100 cards sent in don't get 10s. All right. Our next one, Johnny Damon, has 18 gem mint 10 cards out of a total of 1,175 submitted for a gem rate of 1.53%. So Delgado is hovering right around 1% gem rate. Johnny Damon is now at 1.53%. So, okay, that is a difference, fine. But also the Damon had been graded quite a bit more. So that 1.5%, maybe we could weight that a little bit heavier than this 1% or 0.969%. All right, let's go on to the Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones has in existence 41 gem mint 10s out of a grand total of 2,820 cards graded for a gem rate of 1.45%. Now, Chipper's going to be an important player here because next to the Jeter, Chipper's the next most graded card out there. So if we combine all 3 of those foil board cards graded, the Delgado, the Johnny Damon, and the Chipper Jones, all together as one, combined amalgamate, we have out of the 4,408 cards graded, only a grand total of 63 gem mint 10. So all 3 of those cards together have a combined gem rate of 1.43%. And, 4,400 cards strong, that gem rate, that's a pretty decent sample size. This isn't just like we graded 5 cards and, none of them came back or whatever. No, 4,400 cards graded, okay, that's not bad. So what about the Jeter? The Derek Jeter has been graded a total of 24,100 times. And how many gem mint 10s are there? There are 22. 22 gem 10s out of a total of 24,100 cards graded is a gem rate of 0.0913%. So to put that into perspective, again, this is the same foil board subset, the same condition sensitivity, in theory, that the Delgado, the Johnny Damon, the Chipper Jones, and other players too, like the Javi Lopez and a bunch of others. The same type of foil board subset. And just to, again, put it into perspective here, the Chipper Jones, right? We had 41 out of 2,820 cards, and we have nearly 10 times the number of graded cards for Jeter. And so we should expect the gems to be roughly 10 times the amount. And instead of 10 times the number of gems, we have half the number of gem 10s. Now that is what I call a compelling argument in favor of the existence of pop control. That is astounding, looking at these numbers. So what do we make of this? Well, that certainly, to me, I'm sort of looking at PSA like, this might need some explaining. This is a little bit more than just a little bit suspicious. Now, I've been doing some thinking, because that's what I do. And I'm thinking, well, how else could we maybe explain this disparity in numbers? Because this is pretty damning. I mean, looking at these numbers like this, again, this is not a small sample size. This is pretty sizable. And so I'm thinking about it. And one of the things I can think of, that if I were PSA and I'm tasked with explain this, if it's not pop control, why are the numbers looking like this? And one of the only things I can think of is just, well, consider this. The Derek Jeter is far and away the most valuable card in the set. It's not even close. The Delgado and the Chipper, I mean, those aren't even true rookies. You know, the Chipper's got rookies in 91. Okay, Delgado I know has a 92 Bowman. But the Jeter, that is a true rookie for Jeter. It's his earliest year of card. And so because of that, the values aren't quite as high. And so I think as a counter argument against explaining away this numbers disparity, I would say that because the Delgado, the Johnny Damon, and the Chipper Jones, they have a lower value, I would think that the people who submit those cards to get graded, it's like those cards would need to come back as a higher grade to make them financially viable to overtake and justify the cost of grading. You know, it doesn't make sense to send a $5 card in to get graded unless you're pretty darn sure it's got a really strong, or at least a very reasonable chance of gemming. For that Jeter card, it doesn't really matter if it comes back a 7 or an 8, because even a 7 or an 8 is a tremendous value bump from ungraded raw, or what like a 5 or a 6 might sell for. So we're only sort of self-selecting. Only the very best Carlos Delgados get sent in, whereas for Derek Jeter, almost any Jeter could get sent in, regardless of condition. So what do we think of this? I am finding myself in a position where I'm developing way more respect for the pop control point of view, for those who hold that sort of theory, that sort of, I'm not even quite sure I would even call it so much as a conspiracy theory anymore. I mean, this is fairly reasonably justified. And now I'm wondering about other cards like the Rickey Henderson rookie that have this insane, low population for their 10s. I don't know. It makes me want to go into 1980 Topps and look and see what the Nolan Ryan and the George Brett, and I'm curious to see what the gem rates of those other cards are now, even though I'm sure they've been graded way less than the Henderson. It makes me want to do a deep dive into those numbers. And so anyway, what do we think about this? Where do you stand on this pop control accusation? Do you agree with it? Do these numbers speak to you? Is this compelling? Is this new to you like it was to me about 2 or 3 days ago? I'm really curious to hear your comments in the comment section below. Let me know. Is this something that has been known? Am I off base here? What do we think? Do we agree with that? Let me know. And thanks for watching.